What does courage look like? Is it defined by age or is it a state of mind? Picture this. The year is 1930, and in the heart of America, a child named Calvin Graham is born. Little did the world know that this child would grow up to be the youngest member of the United States Armed Forces during one of the most tumultuous times in world history, World War II. Calvin was not your average 12-year-old. While most boys his age were playing catch or studying for their geography tests, Calvin was preparing to enlist in the Navy. Inspired by his older brothers who had already joined the service, he was determined to follow in their footsteps. The desire to serve his country was so strong that it led him to do the unthinkable. He lied about his age. The year was 1942, and World War II was in full swing. As the Navy was actively recruiting young men to serve, Calvin seized this opportunity. With falsified documents in hand, he managed to pass the medical and admission exams, proving that courage indeed knows no age. And so, he was off, leaving behind the comforts of home to join the conflict that was ravaging the world. His destination? The USS South Dakota, a United States Navy warship. This was his new home, his new school, and his new playground. Calvin's story was not just about a young boy lying about his age, it was a testament to his determination, his courage, and his willingness to risk everything for his country. His fellow crew members, oblivious of his true age, were impressed by his bravery and commitment. Little did they know that behind the young soldier's uniform was a boy who should have been in middle school, studying history instead of making it. And so, at an age when most boys were attending school, Calvin was preparing for war. In the heart of the Pacific, aboard the USS South Dakota, a young boy was about to face the realities of war. A mere 12 years old, Calvin Graham was far from an ordinary soldier. He'd donned the uniform of the United States Navy, ready to face the battles that lie ahead, his heart filled with courage beyond his years. As the war raged around him, Calvin was not just a spectator but an active participant. He found himself in the thick of battles, facing the enemy head-on. His courage under fire was nothing short of remarkable, earning the admiration and respect of his fellow crew members. He was a soldier, a comrade, a hero, all while being a child in the midst of men. But war leaves no one untouched. In the midst of a fierce battle, Calvin was injured. The physical pain was severe, but what followed was perhaps even more painful. As medical staff reviewed his records, the truth of his age was unveiled. The boy soldier who had fought so valiantly was just a child who had slipped through the cracks of the recruitment process. Despite his brave contributions to the war, the military regulations were resolute. A child, no matter how courageous, had no place in the harsh realities of war. The Navy discharged Calvin, sending him back home. The ship that had been his battleground and his home sailed on without him, leaving behind a young boy with a soldier's heart. His story did not end there, though. Back home, Calvin had to confront the consequences of his choices. His story sparked a nationwide debate, casting a spotlight on the ethical dilemmas involving young individuals in war. It was a conversation that would continue for decades, leading to a belated recognition of his service. The rules of war had no room for the bravery of a 12-year-old. Yet, Calvin Graham's story stands as a testament to the courage and sacrifice of the young, a reminder that age is but a number when it comes to the spirit of patriotism. Returning home from war is never easy, especially when you're only a teenager. The aftermath of Calvin Graham's premature return from World War II was no less challenging than the battles he'd faced on the USS South Dakota. As a casualty of his own deception, Calvin found himself grappling with the consequences of his actions. Discharged, disgraced, and stripped of his service benefits, Calvin was thrust back into a reality he had sought to escape through enlistment. His story, however, did not end there. It began to circulate, eventually reaching the public sphere. The tale of a 12-year-old boy who had served his country in the throes of war sparked a national debate. The discourse revolved around a contentious issue: the involvement of young individuals in armed conflicts. Questions were raised, discussions were held. Was it right for children to be exposed to such horrors? Was it fair to penalize Calvin for a decision made in the spirit of patriotism? While the debate raged on, Calvin soldiered through life, bearing the burden of his past actions. But he was not forgotten. Years later, in 1978, the United States Congress took a long-awaited step towards acknowledging his service. They reviewed his case, reconsidered his discharge, and ultimately granted him an honorable status. This recognition did not erase the struggles he had faced, nor did it provide a definitive answer to the ethical questions his story had raised. But it was an affirmation. a nod to the courage and sacrifice of a boy who had stood tall in the face of adversity. Calvin Graham's story is a testament to the complexities of war, the moral dilemmas it poses, and the extraordinary lengths to which patriotism can drive individuals, regardless of their age. It's a narrative that underscores the resilience of the human spirit even in the most trying of circumstances. In the end, Calvin Graham's bravery was acknowledged, his service honored, but the question remains, should a child ever have to show such courage? What does Calvin Graham's story teach us about courage, patriotism, and the complexities of war? Quite a lot indeed. A 12-year-old boy with a burning desire to serve his country, Calvin Graham embodies youthful courage and patriotic fervor. Against the backdrop of World War II, he defied age norms, braved the horrors of war, and made sacrifices that many adults would shudder at. His story, however, also underscores the ethical complexities of war. It raises poignant questions about the involvement of young individuals in armed conflicts, forcing us to confront the moral dilemmas that such situations present. Calvin's tale is a stark reminder of the weighty responsibilities we bear in ensuring the welfare and rights of our young people, even in times of conflict. In the face of war, Calvin Graham was a boy who became a soldier who became a symbol, and a symbol who continues to make us question the very nature of courage and patriotism.